Now we move to the melee phase. Any figure that's within 3 inches of another figure can become paired together. So first we look to see what's going on. So none of this matters to us. And really, none of this matters to us beyond here. When we pair them up, we move them together into base-to-base combat so that we know what's happened here. And remember, this movement was simultaneous. So although there are situations where they might pull in someone else, that's not happening at this point. And we're not dealing with that rule right now. How do we decide who is the attacker and who is the defender? For that, we've got to borrow that paragraph on page 68. An attacker is a figure that has actually moved into base-to-base contact before step 1 of the overall combat procedure. So that's not been happening, right? So those guys were all not in base-to-base combat. If it's unclear whether a combatant is an attacker or defender, the players throw dice to resolve this. Each combatant remains an attacker or defender throughout the round once it's determined. On the next round, the combatants may well have a different role. So essentially, we're rolling initiative for each grouping now of combatants. So this should be very easy. We're going to roll them in first using these dice. So this one is for that rider. You roll a 1. This one is for this one. You roll a 1. This should be very simple. Very simple example for you. This 2 set of goblins, 4 and a 3. So one of these, in both cases, the goblins are the attackers and the men are the defenders. So that makes it easy. That means that the goblins get to roll their attacks first. And again, we're talking about normal men or normal figures. Now, there is a statement that I make in this section. If we were using hit dice to determine the attack values and defense values, that would be a different story. But in this case, we're using the Strategos A table from pages 62 to 63. And in this case, we're looking at light foot. And those horsemen, even though they look heavier, according to the roster, we're going to treat those like light horse because I didn't have light horse figures painted up. So light horse has a defense value of half armored because of their nimbleness, and therefore their armor save is going to be 4. Their attack value for light horsemen, their melee value is 2. Let's see what it says here. Oh, and we're looking at goblins first. So their melee value is 1, which means that there's very little chance that they're going to hit, but let's see what it says here. Normal figures versus normal figures in melee. So you look at melee and defensive values from table 13. The attacking figure rolls 1d6. If the number is equal to or less than the melee value, his blow makes contact. So in this case, equal to or less means that they've got to roll a 1 to hit. So we've got 4 dice. We'll look at the goblins and see if any of these are going to hit. And the answer is 1 hits. We're going to say these 2 were over here, so those are misses. This is a miss. And this guy potentially hits. He's against that horseman. That light horseman now has a half-armored defensive value. And what does it say about resolving that? Again, this is a saving throw using D10. If the number shown is greater than his defensive value, the blow has been stopped by the armor. So he needs to get a 4. He needs to get better than a 4. If the number shown is greater than his defensive value. So it's a D10 roll. And he needs to get at least a 4 to block this. Or, needs to be better than a 4. So he rolled a 4, that's not going to block it. It's going to actually be a 5 or better that he needs to roll. This is a greater than system. Let me know if that's too confusing. I'm not going to change it, but let me know if you find that confusing. So the result of all this Sturm und Drang, thunder and lightning, is basically nothing. The counter blows from the defensive figures we did not do yet. Once again, we've got to consult table 13 on page 62, was it? page 62, 63. Light horse, melee value 2. So both those riders get to roll d6, and if they get a 1 or a 2, they have hit one of the goblins in front of them. There are no multiple attacks for normal figures. One of them hits, and the other misses. This die came over here. This die goes over here. So we're going to say that this guy hits one of those 2 goblins and kills him. Let's just wipe out this one down here. He looks... Well, we'll get rid of the one that's closer to the edge here. That way he's kind of off, out of the way. Out of the way. 1 goblin down. All right, now we're done with round 1. Oh, of course, I lied again. Defensive saving throw. So now the goblin is not dead unless he fails his defensive saving throw. Again, this guy is unarmored, so he needs to get better than an 8. So in other words, a 9 or a 10 will save. Otherwise, he has failed. He failed, so he did die, in fact. All right, clear as mud, I think.